Pain never asks for permission before entering your life. It arrives quietly or crashes loudly, but once it's there, it settles in your chest like a weight you can't put down. That was the first thing he understood the night everything fell apart. One moment, life felt predictable, almost safe. The next, it felt like the ground had disappeared beneath his feet, and he was falling with nothing to hold on to. He sat alone, staring at the ceiling, replaying the same questions over and over. Why now? Why me? What did I do wrong? Pain has a way of making you feel personally targeted, as if the universe looked at you and decided you were strong enough to carry more than your share. But in that moment, strength felt like a cruel joke. He didn't feel strong. He felt tired, exposed, and painfully human. The days that followed were heavy. Every morning required effort, not just to get out of bed, but to convince himself that standing up was worth it. People around him continued their routines, laughing, planning, living, while he felt frozen in time. Pain isolates you like that. It builds an invisible wall between you and the rest of the world, one that others don't see and you don't know how to explain. At first, he tried to fight it. He told himself to stay positive, to think strong thoughts, to act like nothing was wrong. But pain doesn't disappear just because you ignore it. It waits. It grows louder when silenced. Eventually, the exhaustion of pretending became worse than the pain itself. That's when he stopped running and allowed himself to feel everything he had been avoiding. There were nights when tears came without warning. Not dramatic sobs, just quiet tears that soaked into pillows and disappeared by morning, leaving behind swollen eyes and unanswered questions. He hated those nights. They made him feel weak. But slowly, he began to realize something strange. After each night of breaking down, there was a small sense of release. Pain shared felt lighter than pain suppressed. Life did not slow down to accommodate his healing. Responsibilities remained. Expectations didn't pause. Some people grew impatient with his silence, his distance, his lack of enthusiasm. They didn't understand that he was fighting a battle they couldn't see. And he learned an important lesson then. Growth often begins when you stop seeking validation from those who don't understand your struggle. There were moments he thought about giving up entirely. Not in a dramatic way, but quietly, dangerously, when hope feels unnecessary and effort feels pointless. In those moments, he clung to a simple truth, even if he didn't fully believe it yet. Pain is temporary. He repeated it like a lifeline, even when it felt like a lie. Temporary doesn't mean short. That was something no one had told him. Temporary can last months, even years. Temporary can test your limits and push you to places you never wanted to visit. But temporary also means it has an end. And that idea, fragile as it was, kept him moving forward one step at a time. As time passed, something subtle began to change. The pain didn't vanish, but it shifted. It stopped being sharp and became dull. It still hurt, but it no longer controlled every thought. In its place, questions began to change too. Instead of "why is this happening to me?" he started asking, "what is this teaching me?" He noticed he was becoming more patient, not because life was easier, but because he understood suffering better. When others spoke about their problems, he listened differently. He didn't rush to fix them or dismiss them. He had learned that sometimes the most powerful thing you can offer is understanding, not solutions. He also discovered strength in places he never looked before. In routine, in discipline, in showing up even when motivation was gone. Growth, he learned, does not always feel like progress. Sometimes it feels like survival. And survival, repeated daily, slowly turns into resilience. There were setbacks, days when old wounds reopened without warning. A song, a place, a memory could pull him back into the darkness he thought he had escaped. At first, these moments terrified him. He thought they meant he was failing. But over time, he realized they were reminders, not regressions. Proof of how far he had come, not how far he had fallen. Pain had stripped him of illusions. He no longer believed life was fair or predictable, but in exchange, it gave him clarity. He learned to appreciate small victories, a peaceful morning, a genuine smile, a moment of calm. Things he once overlooked now felt precious. One evening, while walking alone, he caught his reflection in a darkened shop window. For a moment, he barely recognized the person staring back. There was a seriousness in his eyes that hadn't been there before. Lines of experience etched into his expression. He looked older, not in years, but in depth. And for the first time, he didn't feel ashamed of that. Growth is not glamorous. It doesn't announce itself. It happens quietly, painfully, in moments no one applauds. It happens when you choose not to quit on days that feel meaningless, when you keep your values intact under pressure, when you learn to carry pain without letting it turn into bitterness. He realized that the version of himself before the pain could not have handled the life he was slowly building now. The pain had prepared him. It had strengthened his mind, softened his heart, and sharpened his priorities. Things that once seemed urgent now felt insignificant. What truly mattered became clear. There came a day when someone else confided in him, sharing a story filled with fear and uncertainty. As he listened, he saw himself in their words, and without planning to, he spoke from a place of honesty rather than advice. He didn't promise things would be easy. He didn't offer quick fixes. He simply said, "It will hurt, but it won't last forever, and you will not be the same person on the other side." In that moment, he understood the permanence of growth. Pain had shaped him into someone capable of holding space for others, capable of empathy, patience, and quiet leadership. The pain that once threatened to destroy him had instead refined him. Looking back, he no longer wished the pain away. He didn't glorify it, but he respected it. It had been a teacher, a harsh one, but honest. It showed him his limits and then pushed him beyond them. It taught him that comfort creates stagnation, but struggle creates strength. Life was still imperfect. Challenges still came. Pain still visited occasionally. But now it no longer defined him. He understood that pain is a chapter, not the whole story. Growth, once earned, stays with you. It becomes part of who you are, influencing every decision, every relationship, every dream. And so, when new storms appeared on the horizon, he faced them differently. Not with fear, but with grounded confidence. He knew storms pass. He had lived through enough to trust that truth. He knew that while pain may return, it never comes empty-handed. It always leaves something behind. Pain is temporary. Growth is permanent. This was no longer just a phrase to him. It was lived experience, carved into his character. A reminder that the hardest seasons often create the strongest foundations. And as he moved forward, steady and unafraid, he carried this truth quietly within him, knowing that whatever came next, he was ready in ways he never would have been without the pain that once nearly broke him.